When you're up 17-0 in the fourth quarter of a game, and in the first 3 quarters, the defense has forced nothing but punts, that should be game over. The Eagles had the Panthers right where they won. They fell apart in the fourth quarter. 21 answer points. And they fall 21-17 to the Carolina Panthers. Greg Olsen with the game-winning touchdown with just over a minute remaining. Eagles got the ball back. Carson Wentz lost the ball on fourth down. Carolina recovered. A controversial call toward the end there. Eric Reed appeared to have the interception. Was called an interception by the referees initially. However, the play was reversed. Still had a second life and not able to capitalize on it. This is one of the most crushing losses in recent history, and this is coming off a very difficult loss a couple of weeks ago where the Eagles lost 17-3 up 17-3 against the Tennessee Titans. So the Eagles fall 21-17. They are now 3-4 on the season. Another tough loss here in the NFC. Chris McPherson here with Ike Reese. Emotional start here to the postgame show presented by Ricoh. There's really no other way to put it here. This is a game the Eagles should have won back at home. Looked like everything was clicking into form for the team, and all of a sudden they come up on the short end after allowing 21 points there to the Panthers.
Yeah, really uncharacteristic of this team. This team usually, when they get up on a team, they typically put their foot on their throat and they're able to close out games. That certainly was a hallmark for them last year during the Super Bowl run. But this year, this is the second time in the last couple of weeks where you have a double-digit lead in the second half, and you don't seemingly put your foot on the opponent's throat and close out the game. This one hurts even more than the loss in Tennessee because when they went up 17-3 against Tennessee, Tennessee immediately scored. It was 17-10, and they were really back in the game, and it was in Tennessee. So you kind of expect the home team to sort of fight until the end. But you get a Carolina Panther team that's coming off a crushing defeat last week to the Washington Redskins. They're down 17-0 in the fourth quarter on the road. Nothing has worked for this team all game offensively. And it almost seems as if once the Eagles went up 17-0, they thought the game was over with. Carolina gets the football back after that. They go down and score with very little resistance. And I think that's when the momentum started to shift. In this league, man, the momentum can shift just like that. And just like that, the Carolina Panthers found themselves back in this game, even with the score 17-6. You could sort of tell the Eagles' offense has started to stymie a little bit and really sputter and not have the type of dominance they had shown that gave them that 17-0 lead. I mean, you had an 18-play drive in the third quarter that led to a touchdown.
99 yards on that drive.
That type of drive normally kills the will of your opponent. But the Panthers were able to come back and score with relative ease. I think that gave them a little confidence and a little momentum to really just throw caution to the wind and say, hey, let's see what we can do. We got a little something going. We found something that's working. And next thing you know, you're in a dogfight and you can't get the momentum going back on your side. I've seen it far too many times in sports where a team that has all the momentum sort of lets their guard down and they can't regain the momentum. And that's what happened today. Once the Eagles lost that momentum after going up 17-0, they could never get it back. And it was all on the Panthers side of the football. And it's a lot of critical plays in this game, late in the game, that the Eagles are going to be kicking themselves about when they look at this film, particularly on defense, where they allowed the Panthers to convert some third and longs, even a fourth and long. They allowed them to convert where it looked like they had Cam Newton sacked. He's able to find Torrey Smith. Torrey Smith makes a big catch, darts down the sideline, and then it goes from, are they going to possibly tie the game? They're just trying to get in field goal range. Next thing you know, they're thinking about going up and winning the game.
Exactly. So let's get some instant reaction over from the link. In a little bit, we're going to hear from the head coach, Doug Pederson, as well as quarterback Carson Wentz. But first, let's bring in Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, as well as Amy Campbell. Dave, I mean, we're emotional. It's distressing. It's deflating right now here inside the studio. I can only imagine what the mood and the temperature is like there at the link.
Yeah, I mean, it's stunned. It's a stunned silence. It's back to not really knowing what this football team is all about. As you guys said, when you have a chance to put a game away, a team away, you do it. And the Eagles, I mean, it was a complete 180-degree turn. The offense stopped converting first, third down, couldn't move the ball at all. And then the defense, Amy, that was a shocking part to me, the way the defense just allowed gaping completions, breakdowns, it was unbelievable. It was a complete difference from the first 3 quarters.
Yeah, they seemed in complete control, like you said, honestly, on both sides of the ball the first 3 quarters. And this whole thing unraveled in 1 quarter. And the Panthers have 3 touchdown drives back to back to back and just absolutely kind of shock everyone. I mean, the vibe in here is kind of weird. Everybody was feeling really good and very in control and, gosh, having so much fun on offense, right? That offense was looking so dominant and so much fun, and it unraveled so quickly and so strangely.
Yeah, and I think part of this is when you don't have a running game that you can really rely upon,
Yeah.
which Eagles did not run the football with big chunks today. It was really, they were kind of just mixing in the run to keep the Panthers honest. And then all of a sudden, Carson Wentz started getting pressure, and the Eagles not able to make it play down the field. Now, they still had a chance, 1st and 10 at the Panthers' 22-yard line, and no run game.
Yeah, and just unable to get it in the end zone. And of course, we thought there was some life down here with that Eric Reed potential interception that was reversed. And of course, Eric Reed, doing some talking throughout this game. So it was interesting to see him make that big play there, but giving the Eagles more life, still another chance to get in the end zone with time on the clock and just unable to even move the ball, like you said.
Yeah, so this is an Eagles team that had a chance today to create some momentum, get above 500, go to London feeling really good. Instead, you go back to saying, who are the Philadelphia Eagles at 3-4 with a tough game in London against Jacksonville to take this to the halfway point of the season?
Yeah, we still don't know who this team is, and which team is it? The team that we saw today, or the team that we've seen look so good against the Giants last week?
And there was so much energy all week. You really thought a good mini bye week and 3 quarters of dominance. Well, 2 quarters and most dominance. I think to me what will stand out, guys, is lack of a running game that you can rely on late in the game, and then the defense, a total collapse, as you said.
Total collapse.
3 consecutive drives for touchdowns by a Carolina Panthers offense that had done nothing to that point.
Yeah, we're about to go in the locker room. That's going to be interesting to go talk to those guys and see how they feel about it. I don't think it's going to be super pleasant.
Yeah, no, it's going to be very tough. And a team that has veteran leadership should know how to put a football team away. Eagles did not do that today. Chris and Ike, back to you at the NovaCare Complex.
Dave and Amy, thank you so much. Again, you can listen to the Eagles Live podcast as well as read Dave's On the Inside column a little bit later on this evening. So very interesting points there. The fact that you don't know what this team is, because this Eagles team has not won consecutive games all season. And basically for the better part of 3+ quarters, we thought today would be the day. The Eagles would get back over 500. They'd be 4-3. They'd be kind of getting into a bit of a roll here as they prepare for that game in London against the Jaguars a week from today. But now they are sitting 3-4. They're going to be in a quagmire in the NFC. Dallas is playing Washington, so only one of those teams will emerge first place in a division. So the division is still going to be pretty much up for grabs, and that will be the silver lining that we could discuss at some point. But right now, the emotions, the disappointment, everyone is just going to be wondering, how did this happen, especially at home where the Eagles have been so dominant in the last 2+ seasons with Doug Pederson as the head coach. Also, bring up a good point about the run game. That was something that the Eagles could rely on last season. I think back to the Chargers game is the first one that comes to mind for me, when they're in Los Angeles and with LeGarrette Blount, they are able to grind out about 8 minutes off the clock in the 4th quarter to help put that game away. I believe in the pieces that are here. And obviously you don't have Darren Sproles, you don't have Jay Ajayi. He's done for the season. Sproles possibly could start practicing in the next week or so, but he's probably not going to come back till after the bye. But I like Corey Clement. I like what Josh Adams brought to the table. He brought some juice today. Smallwood had some tough runs. He had a key 3rd down conversion. You mentioned that 99-yard drive in the 3rd quarter, which really should have put the game away. He had a huge 3rd down conversion there. So I felt like at times they can get the job done, but I guess it's just not enough on a consistent basis, where Doug Pederson wanted to be balanced in the second half, knowing that they had the advantage there. I don't have the answers there. That's the biggest question is, you're searching for answers at this point in the season, almost at the halfway point. But before we get into our turning points in this game, your thoughts on the run game, what the Eagles can do with the pieces that they have in place here.
I'm like you, Chris. I like the young guys. I like what they bring to the table, but I like them as complementary pieces. I thought they worked well last year, along with the LeGarrette Blount, along with the Jay Ajayi, to sort of play off of sort of change of speed type of backs. And I like Wendell and Corey sort of in those roles. Still a big unknown as to whether or not both of these young guys can shoulder the load for a full season. And that's really what they've had to do due to the injuries and the influx at the running back position. But I'll tell you this, Chris. I won't even place it at the feet of the running backs. I look at this game, and it's the NFL, and everybody's going to, nobody's going to give up, right? So Carolina's not going to give up. They fought their way to get back in this game. I thought the Eagles, on that final drive, you got the big pass interference call against Alshon Jeffrey. That puts you down there. And then it got weird for the offense. And listen, we rarely ever criticize Carson Wentz, and rightfully so. Kid rarely does anything that deems criticism to be necessary. But after that first down at the 22-yard line, I thought there were some questionable plays there. I mean, the interception that was thrown to Eric Reed and overturned, that was a questionable throw. He wasn't under pressure, let the ball go high. It sailed on him, almost picked off there. Then he comes back here. He forces one to Alshon Jeffrey that could have been picked off the very next play. And on that play, it's 3rd and 2. You got Wendell Smallwood in the flat. Pick up the first down. What was great about where they were on the 22-yard line is that it wasn't 1st and goal, meaning you didn't have to get the ball in the end zone in 4 plays. You had the opportunity to pick up another first down and then sort of have 4 more plays. So it's 3rd and 2 there. If you take the quick running back in the flat there to Wendell Smallwood, he's wide open. He catches that, picks up the first down, gets out of bounds, and now you have 4 more downs to play with. I think Carson was looking for the big play there, the game-winning play, the touchdown play. That's understandable. You got to live and die with those sort of decisions as fans because that's just the type of quarterback that he is. But I bet you when he looks back at that series there, that final series, and after that first down play, after that first down pass interference, he's going to have some plays there that he wishes he could have did some other things with the football. It's a learning lesson for him. Sometimes you got to take what the defense is giving you. Sometimes you got to live to fight another down. And I just didn't think we did that once we got on the 22-yard line, first down. I thought there were some opportunities there where you could have picked up another first down and then maybe giving yourself 4 more opportunities to get the ball in the end zone.
What's ironic is the Eagles have struggled in terms of getting into those 3rd and manageable situations throughout most of this season, not playing good situational football. But Smallwood produced it was a nice play call, spread out the defense, runs up the middle, get yourself into
8 yards on that play.
Gets 8 yards on the first play.
Down,
all of a sudden, you have a couple chances to convert the short yard situation where you figure, okay, Doug can go into his bag of tricks and pull out something there, but it was not to be. So obviously, again, Eagles leading through 3+ quarters, have a 17-0 lead. The Panthers, 5 possessions in the first 3 quarters, all punts, but first 3 possessions of the 4th quarter result in touchdowns, and then they knelt down to run out the clock. So in terms of a turning point for you, Ike, where do you think this game went awry?
I really believe the turning point happened after the Eagles went up 17-0. They had that 18-play drive, 99-yard drive where they got the touchdown to go up 17-0. And then the Panthers get the ball back and they go down the field, 11 plays, 80 yards to get on the board. And that's where I believe the momentum shifted. The Eagles go up 17-0. It almost feels as if they thought the game was over with after going up 17-0 because the Panthers moved the ball on that next series better than they had moved the ball the prior 3 quarters of the entire game. And that drive, that touchdown, gave them a little confidence, gave them momentum, gave their defense life. And the next thing you know, the offense can't pick up first downs, and the defense, our defense, is back on the field with the Panthers offense having a little momentum going on their side. They score on 3 straight drives, but it started with that first touchdown where I thought, man, they scored kind of easy there. You kind of hope that, okay, hopefully the momentum is not switching, but I felt it, and I'm sure you could kind of feel it in the stadium as well, that the momentum went to the other side of the field.
For me, it was after the second touchdown where Devin Funchess, got Ronald Darby to bite on the double move. Darby slips up. Funchess gets a touchdown there, so it's from 18 yards out. So Graham Gano, he missed the first point after opportunity. So you figure at least at that point, the Panthers are forced to go for the 2-point conversion. Well, right there, Jarris Wright converts a short pass from Cam Newton. That made a 3-point ball game, meaning that if the Panthers got the ball once again, which they did, they would only need a field goal, and they not only got that, they got the touchdown. For me, it was a 2-point conversion because I felt like if you could have the ball back if you're the Eagles, you have the 4-point cushion there, you'll feel like you're in good situation that you go with this defense and you at least can force him to go for the end zone and not just a field goal, you would feel good about your chances. But I think when they got that 2-point conversion, it was at that point where it seemed like the momentum was completely in the Panthers' favor, and they were able to sit back and say, we can not only settle for the field goal if need be, but we can go for the win. And that's what they did as Cam Newton hit Greg Olsen for the game-winning score. So for me, that was a turning point there. So we're going to hear from the head coach in just a little bit here. But, I mean, it's just across the board when you look at this defeat from the defensive perspective, Cam Newton was so streaky because early on, I don't know if it was the wind or it was the pressure, maybe a combination of both, Newton was not able to get much going whatsoever with his arm. And then all of a sudden on those 3 touchdown drives, I think he had 6 or 7 completions in a row. He got himself in a rhythm. And I think the Eagles did a great job of limiting the downfield plays. And that's something that with Norv Turner's offense, that's his calling card. He wants to stretch defenses vertically, and he has not been able to do that with the Panthers this season, which is kind of befuddling because Cam Newton is one of the strongest arm quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah.
They have some speed options on the outside. You figured they would find ways to stretch the field. That had not been the case, and you felt good if you're the Eagles because they've been limiting them to those short plays and not allowing the chunk plays there in the secondary. But all of a sudden, in the fourth quarter, those explosive plays, which have hurt the Eagles in the past, reared their ugly head once again and really put the Panthers in those, like you said, those quick scoring opportunities so they could climb back into this ball game where the Eagles felt like if we just let the play stay in front of us, it'll eat up the clock. It just didn't eat up as much as I think Jim Schwartz and company thought it would. And then a couple times when the pass rush, which was doing a great job of getting to Cam Newton in the first half in those first 3 quarters, when they would get a guy in the backfield, Fletcher Cox missing a sack comes to mind, they were not able to get Cam down. He is so difficult to defend from that standpoint. And once Cam got into a rhythm, he's one of those quarterbacks where if you get in his mind, you feel like you can rattle him early.
Sure.
He's off his game. And I felt like they did a great job of doing that with Cam Newton to the point where I didn't know if he could bring it back. But once he got in the rhythm, once he found his footing there, especially not just with his arm but with his legs as well, that's where you knew that something dangerous could happen. And when you look at this Carolina team, you go just the last 2 games alone. They beat the Giants on that 63-yard field goal by Graham Gano. I mean, that was a back-and-forth affair where they had to rally themselves, okay? And last week, they lost to Washington in Washington, but they trailed in that game early by a score of 17-0 and rallied themselves into a position where they had a chance to win at the end. And ironically, Newton missed a potential game-winning throw in the end zone to Christian McCaffrey. Well, they trailed 17-0 this time around. They learned from their mistakes and were able to come back and finish the job. So Newton making that little bit of improvement really made all the difference. But this is a Panthers team that has scratched and clawed and used all the euphemisms you want for the fact that it's a cat-based team. But nonetheless, though, they have found themselves to be able to get back in these types of ball games, even though they're down, because they have such a hot quarterback who can fire themselves up back in a hurry. And he was able to do that on this afternoon here to get the Panthers in position, even though they were down 17-0. And like you said, Ike, game should have been over.
Yeah.
Game should have been over in the fourth quarter after that 99-yard touchdown drive. But you look at the numbers, 64% completion percentage, 269 yards, no interceptions, and in the fourth quarter, no pressure. He was able to sit back in the pocket and find whoever he wanted.
Yeah, and from a defensive perspective, what you're trying to do is keep your team in the game, right? So even when it was...
All right, we're going to send it over to the link. Head coach Doug Pederson about to address the media.
Doug, you had held them to, I think, 106 yards of total offense before those final 3 possessions. What happened?
Well, quite frankly, it just, we didn't make enough plays offensively, defensively in the second half. We had opportunities to get off the field. Defensively, we didn't. We had opportunities to stay on the field offensively, and we didn't. And so, it's something we just got to take a look at. We got to get, there were some positive things, obviously, but those are areas that have hurt us in a couple of games, this season already.
What changed in the fourth quarter?
They just made more plays. Nothing changed. Same guys, same people out there. They just made more plays than we did. So really, schematically, nothing changed. We just didn't make enough in the second half of this game.
once you get down there on the final possession on the pass interference play, you Wendell go for about 8 yards. Can you take us through the thought process there on the play calling? What are you trying to do there? Are you just get in the end zone, get the first down?
Well, we had to get in the end zone, to win the game. And our thought there was, give Carson a pass and audible to it, give him a run. So if they play a certain defense, we could get to the run, and we were able to do that, and we got positive yards, and then get right back on the ball and go tempo a little bit right there, and try to get the first down. Still had timeouts, so we still had a lot of options available to us with the amount of time and timeouts in the game. So trying to get the first down, but ultimately trying to get in the end zone.
On the 4th and 10 conversion they had, what did you see?
Felt like that. I believe it was Jalen at the time may have slipped, may have fell down, and just Torrey was standing right there wide open. We were real close to getting to Cam and getting him on the ground at the time, and we were just a step behind.
At 17-14, you went 3 and out offensively there. What sputtered?
We didn't execute. We just broke down. And we can't have that. And those are things that our guys pride themselves on. Whether it's, I'll go back and look at the couple of play calls there, see if I can do a little better there, help our team out there. And we had an opportunity on the 3rd down. Alshon, 24, Bradbury for them came back and really recovered well. Alshon was wide open, and 24 just came back and just got a hand in there late and knocked the ball away, or otherwise we're on the field at that point too.
What was the message to the team after a collapse like this?
Well, the message is that, quite frankly, and I told them, I says, we have to learn from these. These are things. These are games that galvanize football teams, and this is going to do that. This is going to bring us even closer together. Basically told them that, hey, pressure's off of us. Nobody on the outside world is giving us a chance to do much of anything, and pressure's off, so we can go play, have fun, and just relax, and a lot of football ahead too. We still have a bunch of games, and still anything's possible, anything can happen, and we still treat it as 1 week at a time.
You guys lost the game earlier this season where you were ahead 17-3 in the second half. What did you not learn from that one? I mean, is there some kind of connective thread there between what happened in Nashville and what's happened here?
Well, 4th and 15, 4th and 10. We just got to go look at those 2 plays, and that's probably the answer. So we've got to, as players and coaches, make sure that we're putting our guys in position, and then secondly, we got to execute the play. And flat out, this is a player's game, right? Players have to make plays, and we try to, as coaches, we put them in position to be successful, and so we got to evaluate that and just coach better and play better.
Is working on the way you close out games something you'll be looking to work on, say, this week for the rest of the season?
Well, I think we're going to be working on a lot of things, but that's one of them. We talk about finishing all the time, and it just doesn't mean, the first half of games. We got to finish the second half too.
Are other teams making adjustments that you're not adjusting to?
No. I mean, Carolina, just stuck to their game plan. Nothing we didn't expect. So no.
The way Carson played, what do you think?
Well, I thought overall, pretty good. I think his numbers were decent. I haven't looked at the actual stat deal, but bottom line is we lost, and so it's not an individual sport. He's part of it, obviously, and did some good things, and we got to take a look at the whole pie right now.
What do you mean by the pressure's off? What do you mean by that when you say to your team the pressure's off?
Well, number one, I think Sal, no one has really given us a chance anyway. Whether we're putting pressure on ourselves to perform, to play, whatever it is, live up to a certain expectation. I think that, it's that point where I think that no one has given us that type of, maybe with the amount of injuries or whatever it is, given us much credit, going into games, and And I think sometimes we force issues. You know, we try to press just a little bit instead of just, you know, we don't have to go searching for plays. We just, when the plays come, let's just make the plays that come to us. And right now we're not doing that. So I think that's the pressure that's off of us, and we just have to get back to playing and executing better.
Just to be clear, Doug, are you saying that the players are feeling pressure to live up to what you guys accomplished last year?
No, I don't think so. I just think that each week, and this is something I've talked about all season, is when we talk about embracing something, it's a choice, and we know that we get everybody's best every week, and you know, it's a good football team. You know, Carolina's a playoff caliber team. They were in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. It's a good football team, and we know that you know, we don't use injury, we don't use whatever it might be as an excuse not to perform, and so you know, sometimes I think players, coaches just put added pressure when they don't have to, you know, and that's something that we've got to you know, starts with me there, and just making sure that we're doing everything even during the week, getting ourselves in positions to win games.
So as a follow-up to that, you're still the defending Super Bowl champs. I mean, that doesn't change.
Right.
At 3 and 4, do you really think that pressure is off you guys?
No, it won't be. But it doesn't have to come from us. You know, it doesn't have to come. You know, there's enough pressure. Just the game itself brings its own sort of pressure. We don't have to go force anything. We don't have to go. You know, go, like I said earlier, you don't have to go looking for plays. Let the plays come to you, and then make them when they come, and that's where we're at.
Doug, as a play caller, real quick, when you see the momentum shift like it did drastically, are you aware of that? You mentioned it's a player's game, but do you feel the need to kind of fuel things when you see the momentum change?
Yeah, I mean, you feel it and you sense it. I don't think it necessarily has to get you out of your rhythm offensively, because I thought we were doing some good things. You know, even in the run game, RPOs, play action pass. You know, some of the things that we were able to take advantage of. But yeah, no, I didn't feel like I had to get ultra aggressive or anything like that, just because the tide was sort of changing just a little bit there in the second half. All right.
All right, head coach Doug Pederson addressing the media, saying they simply didn't make enough plays, and everyone's going to point to the fourth quarter, Ike. But before we get into your takeaway, I'm actually going to say you came out of the first half feeling good about where the Eagles stood. Up 10-0, dominating time of possession, dominating the yardage totals, but the fact of the matter was it was only 10-0.
Yeah.
And the Panthers actually got the ball first to start the second half, and they moved the ball pretty well on their first drive of the second half. Still ended up punting, but nonetheless, though, you know, you felt that the Eagles could have done more to put themselves in a situation where it didn't have to come down to that final drive. And everyone's going to say, and rightfully so, when you're up 17-0 in the fourth quarter, that should be a victory. But at the same time, though, everyone's going to think about the final couple of drives. You could look to the first quarter, the first half, where there's going to be missed opportunities. There was a missed field goal by Jake Elliott. There were plays that could have been made there that could have padded the lead to make it so that no matter how good Cam Newton got in the fourth quarter, there was no way he was going to bring the Panthers back.
No, that's a great point, Chris. You know, I'm thinking about that first half and only having 10 points on the board. I can remember saying something to someone in the press box like, man, like they should have more than 10 points. Like this game feels like they've dominated it from start to finish of the first half, and to only be up 10, you knew that there were some missed opportunities out there, right? The Jake Elliott field goal, that's 3 points there. You see, that would have made a difference at the end of the game. Now you only need a field goal to sort of go up and beat Carolina there. So when you lose a game like this, everything matters when you look back on it. Right before the half, you know, not really being aggressive to go down the field and try to get points right before the half, people will go back and look at that and nitpick, whereas Doug is thinking, let me get out of here. I'm backed up a little bit. Don't want to make any mistakes down here. Let's get out of here with a 10-point lead. That's certainly understandable. But when you lose a game, everything goes under the microscope. When you start to reflect on how do we get to here, an end result of 21-17. And I guarantee you, Jim Schwartz, as a defensive coordinator, he's going to be, you know, thinking back on his game and saying to himself, you know, was I aggressive enough? You know, if there is a fine line between trying to be aggressive and playing smart. And so I know as a defensive coach, they're going to say to themselves, as long as the clock keeps moving and you don't give up big plays, they're okay with that. As long as it takes you 10, 12 plays to score and 5, 6, 7 minutes to score, you're going to run out of time. But for some reason, it worked the first series that the Panthers scored on. That was an 11-play drive, but the second touchdown they got happened way too fast. And really, that's where the momentum really flipped, is Carolina scored so fast. Now they're saying to themselves, we have all the momentum. All we need to do is go out here and get a 3 and out and get the ball back to our offense. You mentioned the running game earlier. Here's where not having, let's say, a more explosive back, a better back, whatever you want, however you want to coin it, term it, they couldn't run out the clock. They couldn't finish off the game. You brought up that LA game against the Chargers last year and how close that game was. Well, the biggest thing I take away from that Chargers game is that they never got the ball back with 6 minutes plus to go because the Eagles were able to go into their 4-minute offense and eat the clock up. And that's what we were able to do last year with the running game that we had. This year, we're throwing far too much in situations where they should be running, and part of it is because Doug doesn't like the yardage that we're getting.
Let's send it back to the link. Quarterback Carson Wentz addressing the media now.
To win there at the end. Offensively, we had a chance to seal the deal the drive before, really the 2 drives before. We just didn't do it. So, when you're on the field at the end like that with a shot, ball's in your hand, and you don't win, it's frustrating.
Carson, why do you think the offense wasn't as productive in the second half as it was in the first?
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's a culmination of things. You got to go back and watch the tape. But, that's just not a way for us to finish a game. I thought we were moving the ball well, early. Kind of did some things well that we know we're capable of, and then almost just seemed like we let off the gas as an offense and just stopped making plays.
Carson, how do you guys recover from a loss like this? I mean, you had a similar loss against Tennessee a couple weeks ago, and now this one. I mean, how do you guys keep it from spiraling?
Yeah, I mean, you just isolate this game in this week and then move on to the next. You learn from it. I can sound like a broken record every time we lose up here, but it's on to the next. There's no time to feel sorry for yourself. There's no time to be pissed about it. You got to learn from it quick and bounce back next week.
What did you see on those final 2 plays?
Yeah, the 4th down, I saw Alshon open across the middle late, and as I stepped up, tried to make the throw, got hit, and the ball came out. And the play before, I just tried to force one in there that I probably shouldn't have.
On the interception, that was
saying that in the 4th quarter, kind of like all of a sudden they were blowing up plays that they didn't have their defense was. Was that just something that kind of caught you off guard? Do you think it was just because you kind of let off the gas a little bit?
Yeah, like I said earlier, it's really hard to say right now. Got to watch the tape and see where our errors kind of were. But I know later in the game we didn't stay ahead of the chains well, and resulted in some tough 3rd downs that we just weren't able to stay on the field.
What happened on that interception that was overruled at the end of the game?
Yeah, that was just miscommunication on Zach and my part. We got to get that ironed out, and we will.
It seemed like you just took some time by your locker there. What was going on?
Yeah, obviously extremely frustrated about this game, and just praying just to ease my mind and ease my heart going forward.
You guys have had some stretches this year where you guys have really gotten rolling, and it looks like you've kind of turned a corner, and then it just kind of, you hit that wall. What is it going to take to get that consistency back?
That's a good question. We're going to find out what we're made of now going forward. I feel like we said that 2 weeks ago, saying it again. We're at, make or break time almost, so to speak. But, it's hard to say exactly what it's going to take. But, again, we know what we can do. We do it, here and there in some weeks, but we just got to put it all together.
On the throw to Alshon, you mentioned in the end zone that maybe you shouldn't have done that. Was there another read to get to, or maybe you should have just taken off and scrambled? What was kind of going through your head as you look back on it?
Yeah, I was just trying to give him a shot to make a play. I got to get the ball up higher if I'm going to do that. And again, I got to see the tape. There might have been another guy open.
Has closing out games become a problem for you guys, or is it something that you all can work on in practice, work on, next game out?
Yeah, I don't know how you work on closing out games, so to speak, in practice, but it's something that we got to do. Without a doubt, it's something I thought we did well last year. I think we've shown that we can do it. But really, offensively, we gotta look hard in the mirror, myself included, and know late in games we gotta be better.
The message from Doug, at least to us, was that the pressure is off you guys now. Before. Have you guys felt that weak pressure of the Super Bowl?
I think this town, the way I carry myself, the way really everyone in that locker, we put high expectations on ourselves every week. Whether we are 7-9 my rookie year, we were on that hot stretch last year, it doesn't matter. I think we put high expectations on ourselves to go out, and my approach will never change. Win or lose, on to the next week, and that's the way I'm going to approach it.
Good. Thanks, Carson.
Thanks, guys.
All right, short and sweet. Quarterback Carson Wentz admitting that they might have let up off the gas a little too early. It's another learning lesson that this team, and you mentioned it earlier, Ike, that learning lesson for this quarterback, that he's still young in his career and his development, experiencing certain situations for the first time. Last season, by this point, by the latter stages of games, it was blowouts most of the time, especially once the Eagles got rolling on that 9-game win streak. They didn't have too many times where teams were fighting back in the fourth quarter to make it a game and eventually taking the lead, forcing the Eagles to, try to get the rhythm back. And I thought Reuben Frank had a very good question where in the first half, it actually looked like the preseason ended for the Eagles.
Yeah.
It looked like that finally the offense was clicking. You had explosive plays from Alshon Jeffrey. That back-to-back series of plays down the left sideline where you had Alshon makes a great contested grab. Zach Ertz makes a great catch. You said they're trying to outdo each other at this point. We're starting to see the offense come to life. The offensive line was protecting well for Carson Wentz. You had multiple people contributing. The run game, you had different people weighing in and providing some relief there and providing some support. It seemed like the offense was finally clicking and the defense was just getting after Cam Newton and dominating the line of scrimmage. The Panthers have an outstanding rushing attack. They were not allowing that to get on track. It seemed like finally everything was coming together, and then for whatever reason, it evaporated. And that's going to be the big question: was it more on the offense? Was it more on the defense? It's all across the board.
It's both.
It's all across the board. But it's going to be interesting to see, can they find that consistency again when it seemed like we've been waiting so long for it to happen. And you knew there was going to be some delay in it because of the fact Carson didn't play until the third week of the season. He had no preseason. Alshon Jeffrey missed the first 3 games. You understood that coming off the long offseason after winning the Super Bowl, or shortened offseason after the long season of winning the Super Bowl, that it was going to take some time for this team to click, that there would be almost an extended preseason. It just finally felt like it ended, and now it's almost like they're back to square one. But now they're 3-4, with a crucial game next week in London against the Jags.
Yeah, this was a pivotal loss because you're at a point in the season where you're saying to yourself, who are we? What are we as a team? And the Eagles are going to have to do some serious soul searching over the next few days as to what they want their 2018 season to be about. Now, they can easily, rest on their laurels, know what they did last year, hang their hat on that, and just say, well, 2018 season, we can't repeat. Or they can say to themselves, no, this is not how we're going to defend what we did last year. We're going to dig ourselves out of this, and we're going to go win this division and get into the postseason. Now, it's really about the mindset because this was a crucial mental blow, right? You have a 17-point lead at home, and to lose a game like this, I can only imagine what it feels like in that locker room right now. It almost feels like you lost 2 games because you feel like you took a step forward that Thursday night against the Giants. This feels like you took 2 or 3 steps back after you lose a game like this. And it can be guys in that locker room, man, feeling sorry for themselves. It's going to be real critical for the leaders on this team to pull everybody up by the bootstraps and demand excellence of them. Demand it of them. Demand that they do the small things that help you win games, the extra film study, the attention to detail, all those things, because there's going to be a lot of noise on the outside when you lose a game like this, especially in a city like Philadelphia. I would advise them, shut off all social media, hunker down inside this building and get ready to finish this season like champions know how to finish a season, because this thing can go into a 3-4 game losing streak if you're not careful and you start to feel sorry for yourself, or you start to think there's nothing to play for. So the leaders on this team are going to have to get these players' mind in the right position to let them know there's still a whole half of a season left to play. All their goals are still in front of them. They can still achieve those things, but they got to get out of this rut. They can't start feeling sorry for themselves. If anything, they ought to be angry with themselves and vow to never allow anything like this to happen again. Like, they're going to have 5 division opponents coming up in the second half of the season when they come back from London and the bye week. So there's a lot of football still left to be played. And the great thing about this league, it's one and done. All you want is an invitation to the party. And you want to be playing your best late in the season. Then you can go on the run. This journey isn't going to be the way that it was last year.
No.
So that's out the window. But it doesn't mean it can't be a successful journey. We just have to pull ourselves together and get this out of your system as soon as possible. Go over to London, take care of business, get the bye week, get the first half out of your system, and come back the second half of the season ready to play Eagles football. Yes, a new season the second half, man. It's a lot of football left to be played. But if you listen to these naysayers on the outside, they're going to tell you the season's over with. And the players can't buy into that. And the coaches, they're going to do what they're supposed to do as coaches. I know they're going to instill the right things in these players, but they don't play the games. The players are the ones who play the games. They're the ones who are out there on the field, and these players have to believe that there's a lot still left to play for, including possibly getting to Atlanta like we all hoped they would at the beginning of the season.
Just don't listen to Marks and Reese tomorrow on Sports
Yeah, don't
Radio.
listen. Yeah, don't.
94 WIP. Not there whatsoever. I was waiting for you to say everyone but my show. Make sure you still listen to my show.
No, don't even listen to my show yet. Don't even listen.
It's interesting because Doug said in his press conference that this type of loss can galvanize the team.
Yeah.
And you talked a lot of great, you made a lot of great points about the soul-searching aspect and not allowing this loss to fester and continue, because you don't want to cost you next week's game against the Jaguars.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing.
A team that really is struggling.
You look at, if you think the Eagles are reeling, the Jaguars had to bench Blake Bortles. They're getting trounced by the Houston Texans. You know, it's going to be 2 teams with championship aspirations that were both on a high at one point. The Eagles had theirs 10 days ago against the Giants. The Jaguars beat the Patriots, and they thought they were over the hump. Right. Well, right now, someone's got to salvage their season, okay? Because after that game, both teams go into the bye week, and who knows what happens after that. One team's going to be on a high. One team is definitely going to probably thinking.
Well, somebody's going to be 3-5.
Exactly.
Yeah, somebody's going to be 3-5.
It might be thinking their season's over at that point. So it'll be interesting to see how the Eagles handles, because the Jaguars are used to going to London each and every year. Yeah. This is new for the Eagles. So on the one hand, you could say, you know, you don't want to disrupt the routine. Maybe that's going to be good for this team this week. Maybe this is the type of game where you say, you know what the atmosphere is going to be like in Philadelphia. You know what the mood's going to be like. It's going to be a dreary day tomorrow here at the Novacare Complex, okay? It's good that in a couple of days they're going to be getting on a plane and heading out to London to kind of get that out of their system and be in a totally new environment. They're not going to have to deal with all the naysayers and the radio shows and all that stuff. This is going to be a London fan base that's just getting adjusted to the game of football, okay? There's going to be a lot of Eagles fans there because it's the first time the Eagles have ever played a regular season game overseas. They've had exhibition games, but this is a historic game for the Eagles because it's the first one in a regular season overseas. So that in and of itself is a huge deal, but maybe it's great that the Eagles can just kind of get over the distraction there and just focus on the game and just get away and take care of business overseas against the Jaguars. So head coach Doug Pederson, he met with the media a short time ago, but our Mike Quick caught up with him one-on-one after the game. He always asks some great pointed questions after a game, especially a tough loss like this one. Let's find out what they had to say in this one-on-one interview right here.
First, Coach, what is it that you say to your guys after giving up one where you led the game almost the entire game?
Yeah, you know, it's hard. You're searching for words and you're trying to kind of put things into perspective, and basically just want to make sure that the guys understand that we go into these games that, you know, we've got to you got to come away with no regrets. You got to make sure that you go into the game prepared. Starting with me as a play caller, leading this football team. I look at myself. We can each look in the mirror and self-evaluate. But you definitely want to make sure that your preparation during the week is on point, because as we know, it's not getting any easier. Right. And teams are playing well, and we're not in a couple areas of the game. It's like for 3 quarters again today, we played well, and then 1 quarter a little bit of a letdown. So we just got to focus on finishing a little better.
Speaking on that, what is the big emphasis that you would talk about for playing 60 minutes of the football game?
It's exactly what I mentioned to the team last night and this morning. Was we got to play for 60 minutes, and as cliche as sometimes that is, I mean, it was evident today that we didn't play the full game, and we just got to continue to evaluate and again learn from this and make sure. A lot of football left, a lot of games ahead of us, and nothing's going to be handed to us. We got to make sure that we go earn and work for everything that we get.
What was the difference in Carolina? Because for 3 quarters they didn't really move the ball, couldn't score any points. What was the difference in them offensively?
I think the biggest thing was a couple of their big plays. Cam had a couple big scrambles, in the second half. They had the reverse for the touchdown. So a lot of their things that came off of either a gimmick play or a broken play that they had success at, and up to that point I thought we were playing extremely well, and defense was getting after Cam, and you just, when you're playing an athletic quarterback like that, you just got to make sure you've got to try to push the pocket, but keep him in there, and he made some great plays in the second half.
Your young quarterback played extremely well, maybe a couple of misfires down the stretch. What's your conversation with Carson?
It's amazing, because as well as he plays, I think there's still room to improve, obviously, and learn from, and we'll take a look at this tape. I think there were some situations. There was a situation down the stretch where, maybe go someplace else with the ball, or whatever it is, we'll take a look at it and evaluate it. But he's played extremely well, and he's tough, and he's hung in there and battled, and made some great throws today, and the guys hung in there for him. But we know too that it takes 11 on offense, and sometimes we just got to make sure that we use all the guys, and just I don't want him to feel like he's got to make all the plays. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. As a young player, and that's kind of where we're at right now.
Offensively, you're right. He really threw the ball well, and especially to the tight ends. What was it that you saw about this defense that led to the tight end being such a factor today?
Well, we just felt like going in. Number one, our 2 tight ends are mismatches, defensively. If they're going to play with linebackers or safeties on them, and we just felt we had an advantage there, and tried to exploit that just a little bit with some of the routes and combinations we had, and I thought we did a pretty decent job there, and doing some of the things, and so we just felt like that was going to be part of our game plan, and use the middle of the field a little bit, and execute some of the throws we did to Zach and Dallas.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks.
Great stuff as always. I love that interview there between Mike Wick and Doug Pederson after the games. I think Mike does a great job asking the right questions, getting to the point. And Doug had a very good answer about Carson and his development. This is something that you touched on in terms of, at times you want to go for the home run, but you know what? It's the singles and doubles that kind of keep the chains moving and give yourself another chance to come out with the win.
Yeah, and as a coach, I'm sure it could be difficult to try to coach a player like Carson Wentz from this standpoint. I don't mean difficult coaching him. I mean difficult knowing when to just let him be Carson, or when you try to pull the reins in on some things. And when a player has the ability that Carson Wentz has, you almost have to just allow him to go out there and do his thing. And then you coach him either after the series is over, or you coach him on those plays when you watch him on film. Carson has made far too many good plays in his career to second guess things that he does when he's out there, because, playing quarterback is not an easy thing to do. Just because we can see certain guys open or certain things become available from our couches or from the sideline, he's out there behind the line of scrimmage, got 5 guys trying to sack him while also trying to keep his eyes downfield and read to go where to go with the ball properly. So It'll be some good coaching points for him. I'm pretty sure as he looks back on the film. And the one thing that I can assure you about Carson Wentz, there's no one that's going to be more critical on him than himself. He's a self-evaluator, very hard on himself when it comes to doing the right things with the football, going to the right area. I think he got locked in on Alshon because there's a sense of security there when you throw the ball up the Alshon. You almost feel like he's going to catch everything that you put in his catch radius, which he pretty much had done all day today. But I'm pretty sure when they look at the film again, there'll be a place or two that Carson would have rather gone with the football.
I mean, you look at the numbers there for Alshon Jeffrey, 70% of the balls being thrown his way are being caught.
Exactly.
And they're not easy passes. These aren't dump-offs or check-downs or screens. I mean,
they're
these
contested.
They are contested catches
yeah.
down the field. One of them goes for a touchdown. 88 yards. Just, again, another productive day from Alshon Jeffrey. You know, again, you felt that all the weapons were pretty much clicking in the offense, okay? Do you want a more sustained ground attack? Sure, but again, you look at the last drive, when you got yourself into the red zone, what's the play that got you there?
Yeah.
It was Wendell Smallwoods run up the middle, okay? And you had contributions from a multitude of players, Corey Clement and Josh Adams coming through, and they're able to do work not just, you know, out of the backfield in the run game, but in the pass game as well. Corey Clement had some great pass pickups there, blitz pickups there throughout the course of the game. So, you know, overall, they're helping keep themselves on the field. But you just felt that, again, the offense, what worked for 3 quarters, all of a sudden didn't in the fourth quarter. Is it what Carson said, that maybe they let on the gas? That's going to be the big question.
And it's human nature. I don't think they consciously did it. I think it happened subconsciously, right? You go up by 17. You've been dominating this team all game. Carolina's punted on just about every possession that they've had.
Fourth quarter.
Up until the fourth quarter. So it's human nature to sort of let your guard down and relax a little bit. But you got to fight against that. And that's the thing. You got to fight against what feels natural to you, which is, well, we won this game. Let's sit back and watch the rest of the time unfold. So a valuable lesson for all of them, not just on the offensive side of the ball, defensively as well. And it's a little more difficult for the offense to play with a lead like that because the thing that happens offensively, if you say, well, continue to be aggressive, well, and if you throw, now everybody's second-guessing you not eating up the clock, right? You left too much time on the clock. You gave the ball back to the Panthers without running any time off the clock. So it's a tough balancing act from an offensive side because you want to try to manage the clock. And if you can shorten the possessions or shorten the game, that's going to help you as well. But from a defensive standpoint, there shouldn't have been a letdown. I mean, the defense, from my view, you should have been trying to get a shutout. We don't get very many shutouts around here. You don't get very many shutouts in the NFL, period. So that's what they should have been playing for. It shouldn't have been difficult from a defensive standpoint. But offensively, I can understand where you go up 17-0. Now, part of you is saying, okay, let's work this clock down. Let's work this clock down and get out of here. And before you know it, it's 17-14. And now you got to ramp it back up and try to put points on the board. And the Eagles weren't able to do it.
All right, so some interesting comments coming out of the locker room. We're going to discuss those as well as something else that Coach Pederson said. And we'll also have some film breakdown on what made Alshon Jeffrey so dominant in today's game. However, if you are watching us on Facebook or Twitter, you need to come on over to PhiladelphiaEagles.com or the app to watch the rest of the show. We'll give you a few minutes to get situated as we take our first break here on the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh.